In-depth analysis on national current affairs. Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1. Headlines.
Every day, Nigeria news stories emerge. And if you've listened to Smooth 98.1 all through the week, you do know that at 7:30 we'll bring you Freshly Pressed, or we'll bring you analysis of some of the major headlines across Nigeria for today, the 7th of September, 2022.
Yes, it all happens on Smooth Breakfast with Victa, Pepple
and Sope Martins. We have two analysts in for you for a Wednesday. You know them, you love them. Every weekday at 7:30 on Wednesdays, they're always here for you, bringing analysis. Let's begin with Lakunle, who joins us virtually today. Good morning, Lakunle.
Morning, everyone. Morning, Pepple. Morning, Sope. Devoe, good morning. Unfortunately, I couldn't be in the studio today, but good morning. It's a great day to have this conversation, as always.
Thank you for joining. Devoe Okorie is live in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Lagos. Morning, team. Cool as it is sweet us.
Never never ceases to crack me up. Hey, there's several ways for you to be part of the conversation today. Sending messages to us on WhatsApp 0809 4440981. That's on WhatsApp. For the messages, tweet us at Smooth981FM. We'll take your tweets right before 8 o'clock today. And we're streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/Smooth981FM Lagos. Leave a message on the live stream. Of course, we will
read your messages, don't you worry. You just leave them up on that live stream.
Let's get the show started, and we're coming to you, Devoe, for this one in from the Daily Post. Presidency. President Buhari won 2019 because PDP chieftains negotiated and assisted him. Wike alleges. The Rivers State governor has alleged that some PDP chieftains assisted President Buhari in being re-elected in 2019 by negotiating with him. Bring us up to speed with this one, Devoe.
Yes, this is part of the usual politics that takes place amongst the parties, and I dare say the Nigerian kind of politics that's not bound by ideology, but majorly by interest. And literally what we've had, for as long as democracy is taking place in Nigeria, there have been various levels of defection at the outcome of any election campaign, right? Mm-hmm. So in this instance, with the attacks that are coming to the Wike faction currently, the current brouhaha taking place in the major opposition party, whereby Wike and his camp are asking for the resignation of the
national chairman
plus some other requests. There's been also the other side, on the Atiku side, who have said, well, maybe at this point in time, when they don't have much time left, they might have to move on with or without Wike and his camp. Now, part of what that has done is that it has sown some narrative that Wike is being anti-party in his activities. As you can see, he's been seen to be fraternizing the opposition in ways that have sent very uncomfortable signals to his party, whilst still saying that, well, I'm a party man, I'm not going anywhere. Almost a case of, well, if it's not coming my way, then let's all spoil it together. And so many harsh statements have come forward. There's been a lot of brickbat, brouhaha, as some old PDP members would say, higi haga, that has been taking place. And at this point, Wike has said that you can't accuse him of disloyalty to the party, that it is on record that many of the PDP chieftains today were among those who negotiated with the APC during 2019 to ensure Buhari's second term victory. Well, the history to that is simply because, if you remember, back at the time when there was a huge outcry or outrage over the administration of the PDP with the Goodluck Jonathan government. At that time, when it seemed as if there was a symptom of success that was going to take place with the opposition, that was the then APC. Remember, the APC was a combination of the ACN, the CPC, ANPP, and also ABGA. But there was also a faction of the PDP that came out and called themselves the new PDP, that was the NPDP, that was led by, if you remember the names of Baraje, he was their chairman, Lagunsoye Onyola. These were all major PDP chieftains before who formed the NPDP that moved and supported the APC at that time for Buhari's victory. It included Abdullahi Adamu, can I repeat myself? You see where that connection takes place, who is now the current chairman of the APC. They were all former PDP chieftains. Rotimi Amechi, we know of his move, of Saraki, you know, and these were factional breakouts that formed consensus. Remember, we've told you before that politics is not about logic. It is about numbers and consensus. So this was how they formed their consensus back then, and the APC succeeded. And that consensus of the NPDP included about 5 PDP governors that covered Sokoto, Kano, Kwara, Adamawa, and they delivered their states that were once PDP to APC. So that's why he really can't take any brickbat from anybody saying that, well, y'all left, we stayed behind as children, in the words that were yapped to him, and kept the party going.
Now, 2 things, Devoe. When he was contesting to be presidential candidate for the PDP, he had said, whatever the outcome of the party, he was going to stay with the party and support the party. What changed? That's 1. 2. Today we see NEC meeting of the PDP in Abuja. Well, tomorrow, Thursday, there'll be a NEC meeting in Abuja. All the PDP governors, hopefully Wike is in attendance. What might be the likely outcome of that meeting?
Well, it still boils down to what each person believes his type of politics is. Can you make your numbers and your position work? Now, in history, it also shows that, remember, he's saying that some of these people left PDP for other parties. Now, when they couldn't get the elective positions, the appointments that they were expecting that their caucus position had brought to the PDP, a lot of them became aggrieved and they started returning back. So that's the surprise case that Atiku eventually became the party candidate. And it is a fair grievance that for some of us who kept the party going, how come now we are the ones losing out when we should be reaping from the fruit of our hard labor? So the truth is, you're asking what's going to happen in the next meetings. Let's see how PDP is able to put forward a position that ensures that everybody is accommodated. Remember, it's just PDP. APC is going through the same thing. ADC is going through the same thing. Literally every party, you must look for a party that supports your interest and takes into accommodation your numbers and accommodate you one way or the other.
All right, Lakunle, I'd like to bring you into the conversation because there's another article, and Devoe had made mention of something about the PDP moving on with or without Wike, but the question is, can they afford to? From this same newspaper, Party Crisis, 70 PDP Guber candidates in closed-door meeting with Wike. So the governorship candidates had a meeting with the governor of River State, and apparently this was, once again, well, what else can it be about at this point, but in connection with the crisis that's rocking the party at the national level. Lakunle, come and share your thoughts with us. Lakunle, we can't seem to hear you. Let's try this again.
Okay, yes, we can hear you.
So the story here is just a continuation of the last one that Devoe just did. It's all about permanent interests. There are no is numbers. So there is no how PDP, if they really want to win this thing, can ignore the numbers that's going to come from Rivers. Recall from since 1999, PDP has always won 90% minimum of all the votes in Rivers State. And this one should not be a one that they can ignore. Having also said that, because of that number, we look back, you say that in the last 8 years, PDP as we know it today has been majorly funded by PDP Rivers. the PDP national, because if you look at the story, even Wike had not denied the fact that he has funded the party to the extent that, so there is no how he's going to stay back. Anybody that hopes to win this election needs to win at least 24 states with minimum 25%. No party would want to lose Rivers State with that number. They are projected 2 million votes from Rivers State. So all the efforts that they need to put into this to talk to Wike, to get the Governor Wike, to get him to align and remain loyal to the party can never be overlooked. So it's all about politicking. The PDP need to work very hard to get Wike to stay and to bring in the votes, as generally we are convinced that the party who is incumbent in the state is most likely to win majority of the votes in that state at any elections. And this also gives credence to what he said about his party members leaving in 2015 to go and form alliance with another party that defeated them at the national elections that year. So if he also decides to leave now, he carries his 2 million votes to another party, is a loss for the PDP, which they cannot afford to. And on the interest that the PDP has in its constitution, that they will do a rotation, north and south, in choosing of their presidency, choosing of their allocation of national offices. One of its grievances today is that, okay, our candidate for the presidency is from the north. The chairman of the party is from the north. You cannot have both. You must give up one of them. Okay, so all of these things he's put on the table. At least one thing I've liked about him so far in all of this is that he's put all of his arguments on the table. He's not holding anything back. I say, okay, so these are my grievances. Come and tell me how you are going to address them. And so those are the things that everybody in the party needs to address, and to be fair to him.
All right, let's take a look at the next story now. Do remember to send your WhatsApp messages into 0809 440 981. We'll read this one in from Idima Puza, who says, why is Wike behaving as if he owns the PDP? He should just put up for a minute, because he's talking a bit too much at this point. Atiku and PDP could win with or without him. You think so? And we'll take a look at this one from Tonye from Magodo, who says,
let's keep it 100. Wike is only doing all this because he feels hard done by the party. He feels hard done by the party. I don't believe he's doing this because he suddenly had a dose of nobility. Well, he'll be doing all the grandstanding if he had been taken care of. That, in my opinion, is the real question.
All right, and we will have a look at this one, Dakwa from Animation, who says, Devoe, I really feel you. Nigerian politics are not bound by ideology, but mainly bound by interest, and not just interest, but personal interest. And it's making me sad about this thing, this contraption called Nigeria. Oh, what's a turn of phrase?
All right, let's keep the stories going to this day newspaper now. LCC, that's the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, raises alarm on impending stagflation, job losses amid declining productivity. Devoe, let's come to you for this one.
Right. This is actually, let's call it the meat of the story, because it's one of the heavy economic stories that speaks to what you and me face on a daily basis. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce was given a breakdown of the, let's call it the tense economic situation that Nigeria is currently facing, the headwinds, right? Now, they said they're raising an alarm that there's an impending stagflation amid declining productivity. Now, this sounds like some big words here, but stagflation is simply a period of slow economic growth, okay? You're not really growing fast. And it's characterized by protracted high inflation, which we've had in excess of 18% for almost a year now, right? Then also low employment, obviously because of some of the issues that Nigeria has faced. Many companies, you've seen many of them pull back from employment or cutting or right sizing, all right? And this has led to the growth in the unemployment market, talk less of the already high underemployment market where people were not earning enough. So what that simply means, and this given the other issues of indicators given of weak revenue, Nigeria's not been able to make as much as it's had before in terms of oil production, because we've been hit, at least for the 6 months this year, with heavy crude oil theft to the tune of 500 million barrels per day. Then the deficit infrastructure, basically productivity will be low if you don't have proper infrastructure, if you don't have the tools that you need. And tools include social infrastructure like education, schools, hospitals, healthcare, transportation to move goods and services from one location to the other. Your productivity is going to be low because you end up spending more, multiple times more than you need to just to get things done. Export corridor infrastructure very poor, and those who export and move goods outside the country know the pains that they go through simply to just move stuff out of the country. The FX challenge, whereby part of the monetary policy, people cannot access FX to be able to purchase what they need abroad. Companies, as you heard recently, like the airlines, for a long time could not get their own funds repatriated. All these send the wrong signal. And then finally, the debt crisis, which is basically we're currently borrowing as a federal government to pay all our OPEX, our operational requirements, etc. And we're not able to meet up on our debt service charge. And we're currently above the 100 percentile mark. And yes, it sounds like all dead doom and gloom. And the LCCI is saying that if this continues, it will get to a place that it will be more than difficult for Nigerians, as it already is. Now, what's the difference between this and a recession? A recession is when there's negative growth for about 2 to 3 quarters. That's like you're just sliding down. Now, the stagflation is a case whereby you're not sliding down, but you're not really growing that fast. So that's where we find ourselves at this point. Now, is it that there are no solutions to this? Because economics is not politics. Economics does not respond to bad politics. And the idea is that there are hard decisions that need to be taken, okay? And when I say hard decisions, meaning, yes, many people believe if that they shift one aspect of the policy, that it's going to affect Nigerians harshly. Yes, but sometimes you have to feel the pinch before you get the soothing sensation, right? Now, what are these hard decisions that require executive will and recommendation? One, we're going to have to kill the subsidies. Subsidies came into the country when literally from the 1980s to date, when Nigeria had excess, when, as they say, Pepple was resting. But that's not the case anymore. We can't afford these luxuries because the subsidy is a form of luxury whereby government takes up the bill instead of the people carrying it. So we're talking about subsidies like FX. You can't be selling FX lower than it is. Who deserves anything cheaper? Let everybody carry their weights. Subsidies like fuel. We're looking at the petroleum minister announced that, oh, we're heading towards 6 trillion for consumption. It's not by force that the federal government pays your bill for the fuel that you do. After all, apart from the corruption that has been tagged to the subsidy, we're not really seeing it. Thirdly, electricity. We're going to have to start carrying these costs so that the economy can bit by bit start coming back. And one of the also issues that it will plug the corruption side to it, where some people just make free money for nothing. Hard decisions by reducing the size of government. Government is over bloated.
Right.
Hard decisions like corruption, addressing those who were stealing Nigeria's crude. Oil tankers the size of a football field do not disappear in the high sea.
All right, David.
Of course, it's in the presence of everybody. And if these hard decisions are not taken, it might be difficult for Nigeria to set itself on the path of growth and profitability.
Thank you.
All right, Lakunle, let's come to you for this one from the Vanguard newspaper. Reps panel queries Accountant General over alleged missing 738 million naira. Just numbers flying all over the place. So apparently the trouble all started when the Accountant General of the Federation officials failed to offer satisfactory explanations to the James Abiodun Faleke-led committee, who had demanded for evidence of the 738 million naira, which represented 25% of the SEC revenue in the 2020 fiscal year. Can you take us through some of the details of this and your thoughts on it?
it's so unfortunate that it is the office of the accountant general where there should be a lot of accountability, that a lot of unaccountables are happening, right? We're still reeling from the disclosure of a few months ago of about 167 billion that the accountant general is being investigated for and with. Now here we are, this is 738 million, about 25% of the income that's supposed to come from Securities and Exchange Commission. The background of that is that the Securities and Exchange Commission is one of those self-funded MDAs of the government that the income they make, they're supposed to spend and return 25% of it to the government account in the CBN. Now, the Director General of SEC says every income they earn, that 25% is deducted at source, meaning that if I pay SEC 100,000 today, 25,000 of it is immediately taken, deducted, and sent to that government allocation account. So I only have 75,000 about 100,000 to spend. So if that is what happens, so it means that this 730 million is a series of deductions that has happened on SEC's income over a period that is unaccounted for. Now, the Office of the Accountant General is saying that they do not have those documents available at this meeting. It is also interesting to note that the chairman of this committee is a rep from Lagos State, James Faleke. And let me quote him here. He said, he asked the Accountant General, the representative of the Accountant General here, are you happy with your job? Are you satisfied that you're doing the right thing and you are presenting the necessary information to Nigerians through this committee? I think that for the moment that where we are today, we speak too much English about these things. We are seeing all these revelations about all these monies that have been unaccounted for. We are sending the wrong signals out there that people can do anything and get away with it, with not even a slap on the wrist anymore. Here we are, this is 738 million. Then you give credence to people who are clamoring for more money, who are clamoring for this, who are going on strike here and there, to say, look, if all these monies are there and people are taking it home, why can't you stop them from taking this money home? The mantra of I will fight corruption, where does that sink? Where does that sit? With all these things we are hearing about, money is missing all over the place, or money is not accounted for. Now, SEC says that at the beginning of the year, they projected that they will be in a deficit of 1.6 billion, but they have made a profit of 2.5 billion to date. So where is all that? So if the 25% of it can be accounted for in the Accountant General's office, it means that there's a problem there. We need to solve all this problem. People need to get punished for these things. Even if you cannot account for it, it should be a crime. Stealing it and establishing that you've stolen it is a crime. Not being able to account for it should be a crime that should even carry a bigger weight than even stealing it, because if you steal it, you will find the money with you. Not being able to account for it means that the money disappeared. Somebody should be able to explain where these monies go to. And that's where the problem is with us. We keep hearing all these big numbers. We speak about it today. Tomorrow we'll come back here and speak about another big number again. And nothing gets done. It's good that the House of Representatives is investigating and we're hearing it. But now the better thing will now be that now that we have had it, we need to take it a step further. Take it to report it to the relevant authorities who can prosecute these things. Let us make examples of people.
We'll need
that
to
is the
move
only
on
way
to the
fight
educational
corruption.
side of things now.
Yes.
Let's take this next article in from the Punch.
Irregular admission jam. NUC threatens to sanction varsities. In fact, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board and 3 regulatory agencies for tertiary education in the country, that's National University Commission, NUC, National Board for Technical Education, and the National Commission for Colleges of Education, have said they will sanction institutions that sell application forms for the conduct of 2022-2023 admissions.
Yes, not much of a story here, but basically what they're saying is that university institutions should not be selling application forms to candidates.
Do they?
Well, we're still yet to get the meat of that. But my own issue with these three regulatory bodies, which we've not really felt their impact in the country, is that the National Universities Commission, the National Board for Technical Education, and the National Commission for Colleges of Education, I really wonder where they've been when Nigeria has been operating on obsolete curriculum. Yeah, curriculum is the program that ensures and enables that substance is put into students as they graduate. But these days, with what comes out, I really wonder what these regulatory bodies are doing. I think the next story is the meat of what we really want to get to.
Well, let's see if we can pack all of that into the next few minutes. From the Daily Trust, after meeting VCs, pro-chancellors, federal government offers professors 35% pay rise and other varsity workers a 23.5%. Now that's just part of the story, because further on in this, it's quite a long article, but further on, it also talks about another committee being constituted. It'll be made up of some pro-chancellors and vice-chancellors and others, to be chaired by the minister. And this is supposed to, well, take a look at the no pay, two major areas of contention, which is the no work, no pay policy and the remuneration of university lecturers. Lakunle, I'm coming to you for this one for your thoughts.
Right. So everybody seems to be getting clear-eyed about where we are with respect to this strike now. You guys, you know my position about strikes. I'm not a pro-strike person. I don't believe in strikes. I believe that things can be, whatever anybody has can be discussed, and being reasonable, we can reach an agreement. And finally, government is making an offer now. You know, the ASU president had maintained all this while that the government had not made an offer. Whether it is big enough or not, they have now shifted from not making an offer to making an offer. 23.5% for all other cadre and 35% for professor. If it is true, I don't know, that professors earn 400,000 naira. This 35% increase means that their new income take home will now be about 540,000 naira monthly. So that is a start of an argument, right? Now, the other thing also is that government is saying all ad hoc allowances that are due to, all our allowances and ad hoc duties allowances that are due to ASU members that have been in contention all this while would now be paid by the governing council. What that means is that the university will generate the fund to do that payment. It's not part of payroll. It is not money. The government don't owe university lecturers those allowances, but it's the governing council that owes them those allowances. So it means that it will be paid by some form of from internet generated revenue of the universities. So the implication of that, in my opinion, would then be that students should expect some form of levy when they eventually resume, that they will be using to offset those costs. So that is on recall when National Association of Parents Association said they were willing to pay 10,000 naira. Recall what I said.
Yes.
Recall what I said about that. They should be careful about offering. Now, this is an idea that they have thrown out, and so government are saying that, okay, so these parents have 10,000 naira to pay. Let us throw it open back to the university administration to find a way to get that money. So if the administration of university governing council comes and says 10,000 naira levy for that thing, I will not be surprised. Okay, so that's another thing. Then the next thing here is that the article, I want to be circumspect about the word that was used in the article that the president warned. I don't want to assume that the president would have warned the committee about what to agree or what not to agree. He might have advised that they should take note that the reality of the government is that this, so do not do whatever. Because there is no how they should even go to that negotiation without the representation of the revenue mobilization, something, that committee that determines what public servants and civil servants earn, revenue mobilization and something committee. There is no how they should have gone to that kind of meeting without those people in attendance. And so these are the kind of things that government need to fine-tune before they go into this negotiation. we need to, like I maintain, we need to be reasonable and get this thing solved.
So we also need to come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for your analysis. You can find Lakunle at Lakunle70 up on social media, on Twitter in particular.
Yes, and for Devoe, the mystery man, he joins us again at 9 o'clock today for Lagos Talks. Apologies, we cannot take some of your messages on WhatsApp, but would love to read from you at 9 o'clock and take more calls at that time. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. At 8:15, we'll bring you sport.